The ballroom glittered, a sea of silk and polished smiles. I slipped inside, hoping to go unnoticed. My brother, Leo, held court at the center of it all. His annual charity banquet was his favorite stage. I'd barely taken 2 steps when his gaze locked onto me. A slow, familiar smirk spread across his face. He didn't bother lowering his voice. "Look who finally made it," he announced to his circle. He rolled his eyes dramatically. "Here she is, showing up empty-handed again." A few guests chuckled politely. My face burned. Across the room, my sister-in-law, Sophia, gave a delicate, knowing smirk. The humiliation was instant and absolute. Then, the charity's host, Mr. Albright, appeared at my elbow. "Jacqueline," he said quietly. "A word later, please?" He melted back into the crowd, leaving me stunned. The laughter echoed in my ears, but it was an old echo. It carried me back to every Thanksgiving, every birthday, where Leo's jokes painted me as the flaky, irresponsible sibling. I remembered helping our mom for weeks after her surgery, unseen. I recalled organizing the neighborhood aid drive, uncredited. "She just wants attention," Sophia whispered now, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. But tonight's sting was different. Because I wasn't empty-handed. Not at all. A secret, settled weeks ago, tightened in my chest. I had made a quiet arrangement, a contribution meant to stay in the shadows, far from Leo's competitive spotlight. The host's request now felt like a tremor before an earthquake. My contribution was significant, especially for my modest teacher's salary. For months, I'd set aside money, skipped little luxuries, to fund the new children's literacy program. I'd donated it anonymously. I hated how Leo turned generosity into a public scoring system. I wanted the help to be real, not a trophy. But as I stood there, flushed with shame, a terrible realization dawned. Mr. Albright had mentioned in his welcome speech that tonight, all anonymous donors would be thanked by name. My secret was scheduled for exposure. The question now buzzed in my mind, sharp and urgent. Should I find him, ask him to keep my name quiet? Or should I let the truth, finally, come out into the light? Before I could decide, Leo amplified his mockery. He moved through the mingling crowd, his voice a carrying beacon. "Some people just never learn to step up, you know," he said to a group of donors, glancing my way. "It's a charity event, not a potluck." He laughed at his own joke. Honestly, I doubt she could organize a grocery list. The laughter around him was louder this time, more assured. I simply stood, my silence a brittle shell. I observed him, this man who shared my blood but not my heart. Then, from my periphery, I saw a woman in a tailored navy suit watching the scene closely. She was a charity board member. Her eyes met mine, and she began walking toward me with purposeful steps. The board member introduced herself as Eleanor Vance. She took my hand, her grip firm. "I've been hoping to meet you," she said, her voice low. "I need to thank you personally. Your logistical work last year for the winter coat drive was nothing short of brilliant. The routing system you designed saved us thousands." I blinked, stunned. Leo had taken full credit for that success at last year's gala. "He said it was his idea," I whispered. Eleanor's smile was thin and knowing. "We are aware." That wasn't the only time either. She leaned in. "Our committee has been discussing a new statewide outreach role. We need someone with integrity and your precise skill set. We'd like you to consider it." The offer hung in the air, immense and terrifying. I needed space to breathe. I murmured an excuse and slipped into a quiet hallway lined with event photos. The cool air was a relief. But the peace shattered seconds later. Sophia found me, her expression a mask of sweet concern. "Jacqueline, there you are," she said, placing a manicured hand on my arm. "Look, I know Leo can be blunt. But tonight is so important for his business connections. Please," she whispered, her eyes hard, "don't make tonight about you. Let your brother shine." The venom beneath the sugar was clear. Before I could reply, a staff member appeared. "Ms. Albright is ready for you backstage now, Ms. Jacqueline." Backstage was a chaotic contrast to the ballroom's elegance. Mr. Albright beamed at me. "Jacqueline. Thank you for coming back. We are so profoundly grateful." He handed me a folder. "Your anonymous donation didn't just meet our goal for the new children's program, it exceeded it. It's the largest single contribution this year." My heart hammered. "We'd be honored," he continued, "if you would present the initiative tonight. Say a few words about why you gave." I opened my mouth to hesitate, to refuse the spotlight. But just then, Leo's boastful voice carried clearly from the other side of the curtain. "The new children's program?" "Yeah, I was instrumental in securing that funding." Hearing him claim my work, my sacrifice, was the final straw. Something cold and solid settled inside me, replacing the heat of humiliation. I watched through a gap in the curtain. A reporter from the local paper stood with Leo, nodding as my brother gestured expansively. "Yeah, without my pushing, that initiative wouldn't exist," Leo said, puffing his chest. The reporter scribbled in a notebook. A profound calm washed over me. The noise of the party, the weight of years of slights, all faded into a silent, clear purpose. I turned back to Mr. Albright, who was watching me with understanding. I gave him a single, quiet nod. "Go ahead." I returned to the ballroom as the lights flickered, signaling the start of the program. A staff member gently guided me not to my old seat in the back, but to a newly placed chair at the front table. Leo watched, confusion then irritation flashing across his face as I sat in the seat of honor. Whispers rustled through the crowd around us. Sophia shot me a look of pure panic. Leo leaned over and hissed, "What are you doing up here?" I just smiled softly. Mr. Albright stepped up to the podium, tapping the microphone. The room hushed. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your incredible generosity tonight." Mr. Albright spoke about the community spirit, then his tone shifted to one of deep reverence. "There is one donor here tonight," he began, "whose quiet generosity truly embodies the heart of our mission." My palms were damp. I kept my eyes forward. This person believed in a cause, not in recognition. But tonight, we must break that anonymity to properly express our thanks. He looked directly at me. "Would Jacqueline please join me on stage?" A wave of gasps swept the room. For a second, there was utter silence. Then, scattered applause began. I rose, my legs steady. As I walked, I passed Leo's table. His face was frozen, a mask of shock rapidly darkening into dawning horror. The spotlight was warmer than I'd imagined. Mr. Albright shook my hand firmly. "Jacqueline didn't just write a check," he told the audience, his voice amplified. "She is the sole founder of our new Read to Lead children's literacy program. Her donation launched it. But beyond that, she has volunteered countless hours developing the curriculum and partner network." The applause grew louder, genuine. People looked at me with new eyes. I glanced at my table. Leo wore a stiff, forced smile that didn't reach his eyes. He clapped slowly, mechanically. Mr. Albright turned to me. "Jacqueline, would you share a few words about why this mattered so much to you?" I approached the microphone, my heartbeat loud in my ears. I didn't look at Leo. "Thank you," I started, my voice clear. "I didn't do this for thanks. I did it because the children this program will serve deserve dignity. They deserve the quiet confidence that comes from being able to read the world around them." I spoke simply about the power of a book, of a quiet moment of help. I never mentioned my brother, not once. But as I spoke about credit belonging to the work itself and true help being silent, the crowd's attention subtly shifted toward Leo's table. The unspoken comparison hung in the air. The family image he'd crafted so carefully began to audibly crack. The moment I stepped off the stage, Leo was there. He grabbed my elbow, steering me behind a large floral arrangement. His fury was a physical heat. "What was that?" he seethed, his face close to mine. "You humiliated me in front of everyone. People will think I lied." His grip was tight. I carefully pulled my arm free. I looked at him, my brother, now a stranger twisted by anger. My voice was calm, quiet. I didn't ask you to claim my work, Leo. I didn't ask you to say anything at all. He sputtered, searching for a retort. Neither of us noticed Eleanor Vance standing a few feet away, observing the entire exchange with a solemn expression. Leo stormed off. Eleanor approached me, her demeanor all business. That was perfectly said, she noted. It confirms our committee's decision. The statewide outreach project I mentioned needs a director. Someone who leads by example, not by announcement. We want you to lead it. The offer was real, immense. Before I could process it, Leo reappeared, having overheard. His anger was now mixed with disbelief. The statewide project, he interrupted, looking at Eleanor. I've been lobbying the board for that role for months. Why wasn't I considered? His tone was demanding, entitled. The contrast between us couldn't have been starker. Eleanor turned to Leo, her politeness icy. The selection committee, Mr. Leo, reviewed all potential candidates thoroughly. We were looking for demonstrated commitment and verifiable contributions. She paused, letting the word verifiable hang in the air. There were concerns about potential credit-taking issues clouding past project reports. We need transparency. Leo's face went pale. His eyes darted around, as if realizing for the first time that people were watching this conversation. His carefully built reputation as the family's philanthropic star was crumbling, brick by brick, in the very room where he built it. He turned instinctively toward Sophia, seeking backup, but she just looked at the floor, her face tight with terror. Later, in a deserted corner near the restrooms, Sophia found me alone. The sweet facade was gone, replaced by raw panic. Jacqueline, please, she begged, her voice trembling. You have to smooth this over. Leo's business, his consulting firm, it depends on this reputation. His clients are here. If they think he's a liar, she grabbed my hands. Just tell them it was a misunderstanding, that you donated together. I looked at her, this woman who had always enabled him. I gently extracted my hands. No, Sophia, I said, my voice firm but not unkind. I won't lie for him. And I won't pretend anymore. Her face fell. As I walked away, I heard Leo's voice, loud and angry, from the lobby. I'll fix this myself. I was collecting my wrap when the reporter from earlier approached me. She looked thoughtful. Ms. Jacqueline, I just wanted to clarify, she said quietly. Your brother led me to believe he was the primary force behind the new program. It seems the public record tonight tells a different story. Did he mislead my publication? She held her pen ready. This was the moment. I could destroy him with a single sentence. I took a slow breath, choosing my words with the care I used with my students. I believe, I said softly, the work should speak for itself. My focus has always been on the children. The reporter nodded, a look of respect in her eyes. She didn't write anything down, but I knew my neutrality was more powerful, and more damning, than any accusation. Within minutes, the reporter's live social media update flashed across several phones in the room. I saw guests glance at their screens, then at me, then at Leo. The whispers became a sustained murmur. The update was simple. Clarification, Read to Lead program was founded and funded solely by donor Jacqueline, per charity host. Earlier claims of involvement by other parties appear overstated. Leo stood by the bar, drink in hand, watching people subtly move away from him. The admiration he'd bathed in all night had drained away. He was no longer the hero of the story. He was becoming a footnote, and a cautionary one. Mr. Albright then approached me again, a new, excited gleam in his eye. Jacqueline, tonight has been revelatory, Mr. Albright said warmly. Your grace under pressure is remarkable. With that in mind, and given your new leadership role with the statewide project, our committee would be thrilled if you would agree to co-chair next year's gala. It was the ultimate symbolic victory, the planning role Leo had coveted for years. As I smiled and said, I would be honored, I saw Leo from across the room. He had overheard. The last of the color drained from his face. He looked utterly devastated, his whole world upended. He suddenly turned and stalked toward our family's table, where our parents sat watching everything unfold. Leo's voice rose above the dwindling crowd, sharp with desperation. Are you all just going to sit there? She's making me look like a fool. He gestured wildly toward me. Our father, usually quiet, put down his coffee cup. The sound was definitive. Leo, that's enough, he said, his voice tired but firm. You did this to yourself. We heard the host. We spoke with Eleanor. Our mother nodded, her eyes on me, filled with a regretful pride. You took credit for her work, son. For years, it seems. Leo sputtered, but, the family image, our father cut him off. The truth is better for our image than a lie. Leo had no defense. He stared at his allies, now his judges, then turned and stormed out of the ballroom toward the parking lot, leaving Sophia behind. Sophia stood alone, clutching her evening bag like a lifeline. I went to her, not with triumph, but with a strange pity. The moment I stood beside her, she broke. A quiet sob escaped her. I'm so sorry, Jacqueline, she whispered, tears ruining her makeup. He made it sound so reasonable. That the family needed one strong face for the charity. That my role was to support that image. She wiped her eyes. I was wrong to go along with it. I was wrong to be cruel to you. She took a shaky breath. And last year, after the coat drive, there's something you should know. Sophia looked around, ensuring we were alone. After you left the volunteer center that final day, she confessed, her voice barely audible, Leo went back inside. He took the master sign-in sheet from the coordinator's desk. The one with all the volunteer names and hours. He told her he'd file it with the charity office. Her eyes were full of shame. He threw it away. In a dumpster behind the building. Then he submitted his own summary, listing only his leadership and your hours under his name. The truth hit me like a physical blow. The missing records I'd wondered about. His flawless, detailed report to the board. It was all a calculated fraud. The anger was there, white-hot and righteous. I could have marched to the podium and announced it. I could have watched his world burn. But the sight of Sophia's shattered face, the weight of my new role, changed my mind. Revenge would only drag me down to his level. Instead, I asked Sophia to write down exactly what she'd told me. Later, I handed the statement privately to Eleanor Vance and Mr. Albright. For record accuracy only, I stressed. So the charity's history is correct. I am not seeking any action against him. My restraint, my focus on integrity over vengeance, earned me their deepest admiration. Leo's reputation would suffer from the truth alone, organically and completely. 2 days later, I sat in the charity's sunlit boardroom. Eleanor and Mr. Albright were there, along with 2 other board members. We've reviewed everything, Eleanor said. Your actions have been beyond reproach. We are formally offering you the position of Director of Statewide Outreach, with a seat on the planning committee. They slid a contract across the table. I read it, my future solidifying on the page. I accepted. I had never sought to destroy Leo. I had simply stopped hiding, stopped allowing him to erase me. His downfall was not my creation, it was simply the natural consequence of the truth finally stepping into the light. At the gala's quiet end, as staff cleared tables, Mr. Albright found me one last time. Jacqueline, he said, shaking my hand warmly. Next year, the opening speech is yours. You'll set the tone for the entire event. You've earned that honor. As I walked out of the ballroom, guests still lingering stopped me to thank me for my work, their hands gentle on my arm, their smiles genuine. Near the ballet stand, under a dim lamp, I saw Leo. He stood alone by his car, shoulders slumped, watching me from a distance. He was isolated, humiliated, and utterly exposed, not by my design, but by his own actions. I didn't smile. I simply nodded once, then turned away. I walked to my own car with a quiet dignity and a steady purpose, my head held high. I never showed up empty-handed. I just stopped handing my worth to the wrong people.